Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about nurturing positive self-worth despite anxiety's challenges. Sometimes life can seem to be a struggle. I don't know about for you, but it can seem like that for me. Do you ever feel overwhelmed and frustrated? Do you wish you could experience something better or something new? Fortunately, with practice and conscious effort, we can make a difference in our own self-worth, no matter the outer circumstances. Success is available to you despite the challenging and frustrating circumstances. It's important to remember that your self-worth is not defined by your circumstances. Last episode, I talked about Stoic philosophy, and that is something I learned through the Stoics, was that what was happening to me and how I felt and who I was not determined by my circumstances. I could interpret things in a way that still kept me in good stead with myself. What holds you back? Take some time today to question the beliefs that you are holding that limit your potential. This is a beautiful place again for journaling. When people say they need journal prompts, I think that you can use some of the things we talk about in this show, like go and jot that down, that you can question your beliefs about your day. What held you back? What made you feel like you couldn't move forward? If you look at a challenging circumstance as a wall that's impossible to climb, you need a fresh perspective. Within you is everything that you need to thrive and feel your inner peace. You already have what you need. So when you take it to the paper, when you get your journal out and that pen and you start writing, you're going to see things differently than when you are just letting this stay in your head. You're going to find that fresh perspective. The more you question the validity of your limiting beliefs, the more success you'll experience in your life. Our beliefs can filter how we see the world and our place in it. And this is all within us. These beliefs are within us, and they can be looked at, they can be examined, they can be changed, they can be updated. So we do have a chance to have a different and new perspective. Think of a circumstance in your life that you believe is preventing you from something that you want. Write it down. Then get ready to challenge that limiting belief. If you do, you'll begin to move toward the peace that you deserve. So I have some strategies for you to maintain positive self-worth regardless of the circumstances. These are ways that you can nurture positive self-worth despite anxiety's challenges. First up, find the cause. What is the cause of the circumstances in your life? Sometimes limiting beliefs can serve as a warning sign that can help you to avoid danger. What can you learn from this so that you avoid triggering a similar situation in the future? Think about it. If the cause of your situation is unclear, talk to friends and family, get their input. Others see your life from a totally different perspective, and their input can be valuable in determining the roots of your difficulties. Next up, get past the blame game. Boy, this is easy to get stuck in. You can often be your own worst critic. Fortunately, negative self-talk often has very little basis in reality. Choose to replace the doubts of your inner critic with more productive thinking. And how can you do that? So once a negative thought has taught you its intended lesson, it has served its purpose. If you choose to hold on to those negative thoughts, they'll begin to form a negative self-image in your mind. And this is an unbalanced view of your talents and strengths and can really hold you back. So once you have had something that came up, you had a negative thought about it, you needed to correct something in your own behavior or your own life, you can then let it go once you have made the correction, once you've gotten the lesson. But we are not always doing that, especially people who tend to lean toward the anxious side of life. We sometimes think the harder we hit ourselves with the stick, the better we'll be. Well, that's not true. We're just beaten down and tired and angry then. You can let go of those negative thoughts because you don't need to be forming a negative self-image in your mind. Get the lesson and move on. This is a much more balanced view of life and of your talents and strengths. And also, instead of dwelling on negative thoughts about your circumstances, you can learn the lesson and see what it is that you can do to resolve the issue and move on. The first step was to not let it form into a negative self-image in your mind. And now you want to find out what you can do differently to avoid a repeat of your present situation. Then, when negative thoughts enter your mind, choose to replace your self-talk with productive thoughts instead. So don't let the negative thought go rolling around in your head and become negative self-image. And also, learn what it is that you needed to learn from the lesson, resolve it, and move on. And now the third point here is to cut yourself some slack. Recognize that you're human. Everyone makes mistakes. We all do. And we all will. It's not like we make a mistake today and we'll never make another one. No, it's kind of how we are as humans. And it's also how we learn and grow. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But your attitude about your mistakes in particular determines your altitude in life. You are valuable, regardless of your present predicament. You are worthwhile, even when you slip up or falter. Your circumstances simply provide feedback and an opportunity to learn and grow. This is a great way to remember by being kind to yourself and cutting yourself some slack, remembering you're part of the human race. You may not be on top of everything right now, but you are on your life's journey and you are taking steps forward every day. When we're hard on ourselves, we end up holding ourselves back. We end up not being able to take the next step. We cut ourselves off from life by being afraid, by feeling we're no good because we made a mistake. And that's just being human. I want you to remember that you're valuable. No matter what predicament you are in right now, you are worthwhile. Even when you have slipped up and fallen, it's okay, and I'm welcoming you to the human race. Get up, dust yourself off, and take another step forward. And let the rest of that stay behind. You're going forward. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't carry that extra burden with you. The fourth thing I have for you is to make the most of it. When you recognize that you're valuable, Despite your circumstances, you'll begin to make the most of every opportunity, not just these great big opportunities that everybody's out there looking for. No, even the little things, even the slip-ups. Stumbling blocks that you face can become stepping stones to the success that you are trying to reach, simply by changing what you focus on. Simply by seeing the stumbling block as an opportunity or as a part of your growth, you are changing the whole situation because your mindset is different. So instead of feeling helpless, ask yourself, what's great about this? Every situation provides something of value if you look for it. What is working for you? Love the idea of looking at life as life is not happening to me, but life is happening for me. So what is it in your life that's working for you? And next, I want you to ask for help. Loved ones, friends, colleagues, your clergy, your therapist, your coach, they can see things in you that you may not be seeing. Strengths in you that go without notice. Ask them what they believe your strengths are. This is where your self-worth is found. Everyone has something of value to contribute. You have these things within you. And if you need a little help in seeing them, just ask. People are happy to talk about what you want to see in you. It's kind of a compliment that you're giving someone to say, listen, I'm ready to hear it. What do you see in me? Where do you see my gifts are? What do you see that I have to contribute to the world? It really is a great exercise to get outside feedback. Once you recognize your unique talents and gifts and abilities, you'll see life in a whole new way. You'll seek opportunities to use your talents to bless others. You may not have even seen what they see, or you may have thought, well, everybody can do that. No, that's probably not true. We're not all good at everything. You'll gain the confidence that comes from conquering challenges that once made you cringe. These opportunities, no matter how small, count. Instead of allowing your circumstances to dictate who you are, you'll be making the rules because you'll know who you are. You'll know your self-worth. And finally, live one day at a time. Despite our best efforts, some days simply provide one big frustration or problem after another. When this happens, we all have a choice. We can let our circumstances defeat us, or we can choose a more positive perspective. With practice, this new perspective becomes more of a habit and it requires less willpower. It becomes your new default. Whereas right now, when you have a day that really stinks and we just go, well, I guess that's how life is, or my life sucks, or I can't do anything right, that can be our default when we're in the negative self-talk, when we don't have a lot of self-worth. But as we build our self-worth up and we watch our self-talk, we can have this new positive perspective be our new default. It's a new habit that we will fall into. Just like we used to fall into the negative self-talk, now we will say, well, that was a rough day. We will see it for what it is. It was one day, not forever. Right now, when negative things happen to a lot of my clients, like even just a bad day, immediately their amygdala takes them to this is how life is going to be forever. Now that's a tough way to live life, because one lousy day, and we've all had them, sometimes you can have a lousy week, month, or year. but it doesn't mean forever, and we want to keep that in mind. It was just a bad day. Isn't that interesting? And move on. Resolve today to find your strengths and to learn from your difficult circumstances. Let them be your teachers. Experience the joy you were created to experience. Instead of tying your self-worth to your circumstances, choose to see things as they really are. You were created with unique talents and gifts, even if you don't see them right now. And when you find those gifts within yourself, I want you to put them to good use. You'll know how valuable you truly are. I hope today's episode was helpful for you, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you listening. If you're listening now, you've listened to the very end, except for the quote, and I just want to tell you thank you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. And now for today's quote. You are not broken. Your anxiety does not define you. Embrace your journey of healing and growth, for it is through facing your fears that you discover your true strength. And that's from Michelle Terry. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.